Hi, we're going to view from here. I'm Matt Driskill, live, sort of, in Singapore. That's right, we made a big move from Hong Kong. We're broadcasting live, sort of, from Singapore. Today we are continuing the FCC Speaker Series. The topic today, the future of news. Is traditional media losing out online? The speakers, Sue Brooks, Director of Video Transformation at the Associated Press. Maria Ronson, Vice President of Sales for Asia, also for the Associated Press. A little bit more about them in just a minute. Many of you know the FCC in Hong Kong. Many of you know it's a key stop on the itineraries of the most well-known people in the world who happen to be passing through the city. The View from Here is pleased to announce we've got the complete set of speeches dating all the way back to 2007, and we're uploading each and every speech from 2014 as fast as we can. Speakers and topics in the series include people like Mia Farrow, famous actress, outspoken activist on China and Darfur. We've got Bill Clinton in conversation with Lee Kuan Yew, the founder of modern-day Singapore. And we've got people like Chris Patton, the last governor of Hong Kong before he was handed back to China. We've also got people like comedian, author Michael Palin of Monty Python fame, and we've got many, many more. Check back frequently on The View from Here to get the latest podcasts. Don't forget, you can also log on to iTunes and subscribe to The View from Here. That way you won't miss a key speech. Just go to the iTunes store, do a search for me, Matt Driskill, or The View from Here, and subscribe. And that way each and every speech you download it straight to your iPod, your iPhone, your iPad. A little bit more about today's offering. The topic, the future of news. Is traditional media losing out online? Of course it is. The speakers, Sue Brooks, Director of Video Transformation at AP, and Maria Ronson, Vice President of Sales for Asia for AP. According to the propaganda they gave me, is online video about to transform the Asian media landscape? How does online video consumption in Asia compare with Europe? The speakers will share the outcome of research that the Associated Press commissioned from Deloitte on the future of online news and news video. The research primarily looked at consumer behavior in 3 markets, China, Japan, and Indonesia. Sue Brooks is Director of Video Transformation at the AP. Over the past 2 years, she's headed a team responsible for revolutionizing the way AP distributes video to customers around the globe. She conceived and created AP Video Hub, which is the video delivery platform designed for websites and portals that want access to AP's award-winning broadcast video. She's a journalist with 25 years' experience in newspapers, radio, and television, and is also a Columbia University Schultzberger Fellow. Maria Ronson is Vice President of Sales for Asia for AP. She's a former journalist for the AP, was a senior editor for Worldwide Television News before its merger with AP in 1998. She later became Deputy Regional Editor for AP Video before taking responsibility for Asia broadcast sales in 2000. She's based in Hong Kong, VP for Sales for Asia since 2013, and she's responsible for all AP international licensing revenue across Asia Pacific. Well, that's it for me, Matt Driskill. That's A View from Here. Stay tuned. The topic is traditional media losing out online. The speakers, Sue Brooks and Maria Ronson, both from the Associated Press, they are next.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the FCC. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. My name is Tara Joseph. I'm president of the FCC and a senior video editor with Reuters based here in Hong Kong. Today is a special day. No, not because it's Monday and not because Chinese New Year is coming up soon, but there are 3 of us sitting at tables representing a traditional news agencies. AP, 2 people, Reuters, 1 person, and we're all from the video business. Now, that might seem unusual because in earlier days, those traditional organizations were all about wire service, fast writing. But times are changing, and that's what our discussion is about today. The transformation of the media landscape in online, from newspapers to online, and also from online to video. I've had the pleasure of talking about this topic with the 2 women from AP. A lot of interesting stories that we've shared. It's my pleasure to introduce them. Joining us from London is Sue Brooks, who is the head of video transformation for AP. We're lucky to have her in the region with us for a few days. And also Maria Ronson, who's senior vice president for sales for video for AP in Asia. I think we'll start with Maria, then Sue will come to the stage, and we'll also leave plenty of time for questions and discussions at the end.
Welcome. First of all, let me just reintroduce myself. I'd like to say I'm Senior Vice President, but I'm a mere Vice President. So I thank you for the promotion anyway. So as I said, I'm Maria Ronson, and I'm here with Sue Brooks. And I'm here to talk about a very important topic. We all know that the news landscape is changing very rapidly. For some of us, it's even a very painful journey. For some of us in the traditional media anyway, it's been a very painful journey. And we're here today to share with you what the AP has learned.
Sorry. You're in notes. Everybody can see.
Okay, sorry.
Can you make that?
Okay. And we're here today to share with you what the AP has learned about what this change means to the way our industry reports news, and also how we can stay ahead of the curve. Easier said than done, you will say. So what we've done in the past year at the AP is we've conducted some large research projects to understand exactly what consumers, how the consumers want their news served up in the digital age. Now, these reports are quite large to contain in a 20-minute presentation. So please, for anybody who's interested, whether you're from AFP or Reuters or anyone here in this group, please come to me, give me your name cards, and I will give you a copy of our report. So what has been the recurring theme of all these research projects that we've done? Actually, it's a no-brainer. It's video. The importance of video in news consumption. And here today, I'm going to present to you a video from Paul Lee, who's our research partner at Deloitte, to explain more about the importance of video in our news consumption. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Paul Lee from Deloitte, and welcome to the Associated Press in London. In 2013, we ran 2 studies for AP in Europe and Asia. They point to the future of online news consumption and what part video plays. So what did we find? Audiences increasingly go online for more details of a breaking news story. In Europe, more than 60% told us that's what they do. And the reason? They want to build an experience that's unique and personal to them. And they told us video is essential to their online news experience, but not just the same video you're putting out on TV news programs. People want stories to be served up in a different way online, where proportionately more alternative and niche stories are being watched. Tablets and smartphones are also changing the landscape. Say cheese. These are mass market devices. Just look at China. A decade ago, 20% of people had a mobile phone. Now, nearly everyone who could afford one has got one. And it's the tablet owners of Europe and Asia who are most likely to watch news video online regularly. Our research led to some surprises. You may think young people in Europe are the least engaged in news, and you'd be right. But 2/3 of 16 to 24-year-olds there watch news videos at least once a week, higher than any other group. Just think, if you appeal to these guys online now, you could hook them into your brand across platforms for a long time to come. But why should broadcasters care? The experience in Asia is that all those smartphones encourage snacking. The always-on culture is driving people online and away from broadcast. Video is key to standing out from the rest. And live video could be one battleground as new providers fill an online niche that many broadcasters are, quite frankly, ignoring. Brand loyalty stretches across platforms, but only if the audience gets what they want.
Sorry, let me just toggle now to the presentation. So, what do they want? The good news is everybody's still hungry for what most of us in this room, produce, news. In our research, by the way, we've had two batches, one in Europe and one in Asia. We decided to choose in Asia the three important markets: Indonesia, China, and Japan. And in Europe, we chose Germany, Spain, and the UK. And what we have found was that Asian consumers tended to be more hungry for news than their European counterparts. As you can see from the graph, Indonesia topped the list. And though Japan is the lowest of the people that we've polled, or the territories that we've polled, it's still at 82%, a pretty generous percentage. So there is still a huge appetite for what we collectively produce. Keeping up with the news is important, probably even more important than it's ever been. But how does the 21st century consumer keep up with the news is changing. Look at the graph. Look at the green bars. You will see that news websites are now the go-to or the first port of call for most consumers who are interested to understand what is breaking news, especially in China. And how do the people learn about breaking news or a story that breaks? That is also changing. What we have found is more than 50% of news consumers in China and Indonesia hear about breaking news from social media sites. What this means is fundamental to the news experience of people nowadays is the need to understand what others are viewing and then share it with the others. Indeed, our research has also shown that consumers in Indonesia and China tend to look at social media websites when breaking news happens because they think it is more accurate and more up-to-date. So word of mouth, digitally speaking, is seen or perceived to be more believable and credible than traditional media. One key thing that we have also found in our research is how video is no longer an option. If you are running a professional news website, you have to have video. It's a must. Video is essential when packaged with text and photos. Video builds brand loyalty. It also adds to the differentiation between services. It also, consumers also rely on, and it's also very important in people's experience and engagement in news. Consumers also tend to go to a small batch of sources for their breaking news, of online video sites. But they're fickle. If you're not providing what they are looking for, they ain't gonna stay with you. They'll go elsewhere. That has been the finding of our research in Asia, in Europe and in Asia. But Europe tends, the Asians actually tend to go to online news websites more than their European counterparts. In fact, we found that more than 70% said they will go elsewhere if the news site did not include video, which is a third of consumers we polled in the UK. So 2/3 of Asian consumers said they will go straight to sites that have video. Not surprisingly, it's something that we all have to take into consideration. All of us working in the agency business understand that we have to review the way we are doing things, the way we are producing our video. And here I am to introduce to you Sue Brooks, who's been involved in validating the research that we have made in the past year.
Thanks, Maria. So she and the Deloitte boys have done the clever stuff. I'm going to try and explain what it means in real life, because I have one of the best jobs in the world. I travel the globe, talking to media organisations, old and new, traditional and new, trying to find out how they're meeting the challenges of the digital age, and what can we as an industry together do to meet those next challenges. First and foremost, it's quite clear from the research and from what you've heard from both from Maria and Deloitte that many organisations are turning to video to help them meet the digital challenge. Indeed, I've just got one bit of information that brings this home. The fastest growing, or the fastest area of growth for video at the moment is from radio stations, which is really entirely counterintuitive, but all our research, in fact this I think was research from another company, says that. So when it's important that when we think of video, when we talk of video, we don't think of linear TV in the way that we've all grown up to think that's what video means. What radio stations and newspapers are finding is that consumers, when they go online to look at video, want a really very different experience to that we're used to, as I say, to the linear TV experience. Here's a really good example, actually. The Huffington Post this is a live feed from the Huffington Post for the last presidential inauguration, probably about a year ago. Well, in fact, I'm sure it was about a year ago today, this week or so. They used a live feed to cover the election. It was exactly the same live feed that ABC, NHK, all the broadcasters used, because it was a poor feed. Everybody actually essentially had more or less the same kind of content. But the Huffington Post used it in an entirely different way. They used the live feed to engage the audience. I mean, look at it. It's taking up less than what, about a quarter of the screen there. They used it to engage the audience, to draw them in, to involve them in the action. In fact, I was watching this as it happened, and one woman tweeted, I feel like I'm part of the action. I feel like I'm there. And that's really important. It's almost as if the content is incidental to the conversation that's going on around the news. And we're seeing that time and time again. It's not just the new digital kids on the block, though, that are using video and specifically live video really effectively. The New York Times, actually last week, launched its new design for its online site. And you see here, video is right slap bang front and centre of the new design, and looks absolutely fantastic. If you get a chance, go and have a look at it. It's almost like a Hogwarts type moving photo, the way they're using video, and it looks really, really fabulous and very much in tune with their brand. Very different to the Huffington Post, but very authentic, and that's something that really news organisations are learning the world over. Online, consumers can smell a fraud a mile off, so anything that's authentic works very well, and authentic in keeping with your brand. Asahi Shimbun is another quick example. They used live very effectively as Tokyo was waiting to see whether or not it had won its Olympic bid last year. Again, collating comments from viewers. So that the stream, that the news was complementary to the experience, not all the experience. And that's a big difference between the traditional media and how people increasingly using video, especially live video, online. This growing importance of live video has been borne out by a survey of our digital customers recently. 72% told us that live video is important or very important to them. And and I'm sure I know many other news organisations and news agencies around the world are beginning to concentrate increasingly on live coverage. So you're going to say why? Well, first and foremost, I think is that it creates stickiness. You get it right and viewers are glued to the screen. Just look at these statistics which come from American academics. An average visitor spends about a minute a day on a newspaper website. Now look at these figures. These figures come from coverage of the royal baby who was born, last summer in the UK. I need to make it really clear at this stage that these figures do not come from the prince and princess coming out with the new baby, showing the world that the new member of the UK royal family. These figures came from about 5 days of coverage of a hospital door. There was nothing happening at all. People were going in, people were coming out, they weren't royal family. 5 days that was on, and people were absolutely glued to the screen. Broadcasters would kill for that kind of engagement. It's like a soap or something that's doing that. And can you imagine, I used to edit a network news programme in the UK. Can you imagine going on into our morning editorial conferences saying, what are we going to do today? I know, let's put a door on the news. I mean, just inconceivable. And it's not just the raw baby that is creating these kind of figures. We've seen it many times from live coverage recently. Sometimes we think perhaps we'll put some paint on and watch that dry, see what happens. That would be good. And so obviously we've analysed lots because it's terribly important. We try and understand consumer behaviour as to why that is. Why is these kind of anticipatory events creating such stickiness? And that's exactly what we found out, that it's anticipation that counts. People want to be the first to know, and there is no more first than live. So what we think is happening, it's like having a social currency, and it comes back to the point about social media that Maria made a few moments ago, that somebody's watching the live feed of the hospital door. They're the first to hear that something's happened, that the baby's been born, which means they can get straight onto their own social media streams. They can tweet about it, they can blog about it, and suddenly, again, they're part of the event, and they have cashed in, if you like, their social currency of being the first to know. I said earlier that live content also increases engagement because while people are waiting, they have time, if so, to join in the conversation, feel part of the action and start tweeting and getting involved in it. I cannot underestimate the role that social media is playing in this. There's the content, there's the social aspect, and online in a way that broadcasters haven't historically been able to do. You can gel the whole pieces together, and it's working very effectively. Increasingly, it's easier to monetize live events in a way that's not often possible for news, which is, as everybody in this room knows, is really unpredictable and also not always appropriate for sponsorship. So here, Apple Daily got a really fitting and timely sponsor for its New Year's celebration coverage, just the New Year just gone, and they had a watchmaker, in case you didn't get the very poor pun, sponsored it, and it worked really, really well. So again, that's something that online you can get easier, you can get in advance, you can plan for it, and it's really low risk, if you like. And we're going to take some questions in a minute, but first, if I can make the computer work, I'm going to just show you one more video. It's actually a video that we was made last year for the, gosh, was it last year? It was 2 years ago now, gosh, for the London Olympics. But it's really relevant, and I think will give us all a bit more pause for thought. It's especially relevant because the Winter Olympics are just around the corner, and of course the World Cup later on. But more than that, I think it says a lot, and probably much more coherently than I can. exciting, huh, isn't it? People are scared. I just say, bring it on. I can't think of, I've been in this industry much too long, and I can't think of a more exciting time to have been involved in it. It's fantastic. So you have some questions. Okay. Do you want me to come up there?
Yeah. Maria and Sue, thanks very much. We have about 15 minutes for Q&A. If you'd like to raise your hand, we'll come around with a mic, and if you could give us your name and if you represent an organization. We'll start with Eric Wishart from AFP.
Thank you, very interesting. My name is Eric Wishart, I work for AFP News Agency. I'd like to ask, just in your study, did it break it down into categories of video topics? What's best? Is it Miley Cyrus twerking? Is it a refugee camp in South Sudan? What are the categories that work best in video? And also, how do you see the balance between consumption of video, domestic video, like local news, and international news? And did that vary according to the market? Okay, thanks.
Hi. What we did in the research is ask the consumers how they define news, because as everybody knows, the lines are blurring increasingly. So it's very difficult in terms of the research to say yes, entertainment is more important than the news, because, for example, what is news and what is entertainment now? So if David Beckham or Rodman or something does something interesting, as we all know, it's an entertainment story, it's a sport story, and it's a news story. So the research, we can send you the whole lot of it, because it's really very deep and detailed, which has some of that information in it. From our own experience, it depends entirely on the region as to where the consumer is, as to which type of news is still important or more important. What we have been quite surprised about, though, is that broadly speaking, people who are watching news online tend to follow the same patterns as they do when they're watching on news on broadcast. So breaking news in terms of clips is still very popular when the news is breaking straight away. If then the consumer wants to know more about a story, they tend to go online to learn more. So still, to some extent, breaking news will mean that people go straight to TV, and then if they want to know more about it, they'll go online. But come afterwards and I'll give you a copy of the research.
Questions? While people are thinking about them, I'll over here. Sarah?
Angela Chung, APV. So we're a video production company, and a lot of our clients are asking us about ROI. How do you gauge, measure, justify ROI, especially in the social media space?
It's still on. In the social media space, I'm not qualified to talk about. What I can talk about is what we're increasingly seeing is that ROI can obviously be connected to brand, and while media organisations use video, or any media, if you like, but specifically talk about video, use it in keeping with their brand. So the New York Times do it one way, the Huffington Post will do it another. And as you can see from the Apple Daily experiment, increasingly customers are finding sponsorship, which is working very well. And because of this kind of stickiness that video is bringing, they are finding that has also ensures that they have more eyeballs, and eyeballs means more advertising dollars. So there is a clear correlation between, and we're seeing more and more people bringing their, more and more media organisations wanting to promote their own brand using video. Therefore, they take full advantage of any advertising dollars rather than relying on third-party hosting platforms and things like that.
Over here.
Hi, my name is Linda Kennedy. Do you think the word news will actually become obsolete? Because what people of a certain age call news, people of a less certain age maybe call sharing. So it's not that they're not interested in information, but it's just that it's defined differently, and how it's currently being defined sort of smacks of an old-fashioned agenda.
Hello, Linda.
Hello.
I think I know you. Yes, it is. It is entirely different, and also you take that as a step forward, which is why, yes, you can't deny, is it a news story, is it a sports story? It doesn't matter to a large extent these days, and increasingly also who's delivering it isn't matter anymore. So in more and more we're seeing content marketing, and you'll see a time, I'm sure, where as many people think that actually they can get their sport news from Nike or somewhere as they can from the BBC or whoever, because that not only is the actual genre all merging, but also the media brands are emerging too, and who is considered a news brand. If we're talking 5 years hence, I'm sure it'll be very different to the way it is now.
Let me just compliment also what Sue has just said. From our findings, what we have found is that there's really great hunger still for breaking news. Breaking news as in, historic change or calamities, or, anything that's breaking news, it's still of interest. But the news value changes as the importance to the person who's actually engaging in the news changes. Where social media, I think, comes into play is when people are more interested in what their peers are doing, their peers are viewing, what their peers are interested in. So there are kind of several, there are several categories, but breaking news still matter. People still want to know more about what's happening in the world outside their own environment.
Just to follow up on that, Sue, when you were speaking earlier, you're saying this is a really exciting job and a really exciting time in the industry. Do you think that news is losing its value, or are we coming into a new opportunity for news, really?
Yeah, no. I think that the best is yet to come, because what's happening is actually we just have, as journalists and news organisations, we just have another tool in our storytelling armour, if you like, and no longer does an organisation need a satellite dish the size of a tennis court, or content management systems the size of a small nation to be able to handle the storytelling, video and commenting and social media, and getting your viewers actually involved in the conversation about the news. I think it's just opening up a whole new kind of front in storytelling, which is just, if we get it right, and there's no reason to think that we won't, it's fantastic.
And with newspapers and websites that want all these new tools and all this new stuff, are they training people, spending money, building their own new types of teams?
Yeah, certainly the people I speak to are creating different teams. Of course, the skills, to some extent, most young journalists coming out of college now will have by default, will have video skills already. Increasingly, the AP and other organisations are training people in multimedia and multi-format techniques. I know some of the newspapers that I mentioned earlier on have some fantastic video departments. Wall Street Journal is doing fantastic things, as indeed the Washington Post has got something called Beneath the Fold, I think, or perhaps it's called On the Fold. Anyway, it's again very, very good. And what they've done is almost deconstruct the traditional linear TV newscast And so they're starting from instead of starting with a finished product, they're starting with bits and pieces, and it kind of builds throughout the day, and the viewers can watch it build, or readers can watch it build throughout the day until at about 6 or 7 o'clock or not, the whole thing comes together. But it's exciting. Do you want to say?
There's Tim from
Next Media. Sorry, what, Joe Schmaltz from Reuters? We'll go around. Joe?
Hello.
That's Tim from Next Media.
Hi,
Please
my
go
name is
ahead.
Tim Yu from Next Media. Thank you for using our Apple Daily as an example. If you would continue to show it to high-value audiences like this, I'll send our client another invoice. My question has to do with your study in terms of China being so large. Did you go into the regional differerences, and did you cover Greater China, including Hong Kong and Taiwan?
I don't think so, do we?
Okay. Actually, no. I'm afraid we were really just more interested to see how the markets were different. We didn't go granular into understanding exactly what the people from Shanghai or the outlying provinces, how were they consuming news. So we just looked at it more actually from Beijing rather than the entire country. That would probably require another research. So we just looked at, essentially the main suburban, the main cities of Tokyo, Jakarta, and Beijing.
Okay, so you used Beijing as the representative sample?
Yes,
then.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
I believe we had a question over here, Joe.
Thank you. My name is Joe Schmaltz. I do for Reuters what Maria does for AP. So when we're not competing, whenever we're not competing, we probably agree on a lot of views on the industry. The one thing that I took away from this is, and that's probably true for this presentation as well, the one thing that I took away were the changes in the media industry and your encouragement for media companies to embrace the change and to adopt. I was wondering if you can talk a bit more about how the AP is adapting to these changes and how you're addressing these changes with your clients, just so that I can walk away with a bit of competitive intelligence.
I'm not supposed to talk about the AP. I've been ordered not to talk. Shall I? It's okay. Well, Sue will talk. No, Sue will answer that question.
And what we're doing is working increasingly with our clients and customers, and as I'm sure you are and everybody. I think that the kind of the barrier, everything's changing. The barriers are breaking down in terms of, there isn't any media organisations and readers now. The readers are a part of the story, as you can see from the comments and things. So everything is blurred. So we're working as much as we can with our customers to see what it is that we can do to help them, what we can do together to help the industry, because we're all in it together. Everybody in this room is in it together, and that's what we have common cause and common goals, and I reckon that we're much stronger fighting together to make sure that strong and independent journalism and really good, strong storytelling wins out. And that's in everybody's interests, be you from Reuters, AFP, the New York Times, or the Associated Press.
We have time for one more question.
I'm just wondering how closely you work with the print journalists at the organizations to create content, or do both sides re-report the news?
Okay. It's okay to talk about the AP, I guess, yes. Okay. We have actually changed the way we do things now at the AP. For instance, in the past, you've got an editor for text, or the text people or the newswire writers would be filing and reporting to a wire editor, and then you've got the video editor, and you've got a photo editor. What we've done now, because of the media convergence, is we've got one editor overseeing the multimedia formats. Okay, so whenever they do stories together, they do stories together. Whereas in the past, you know, the text people would be doing something else and everything else. So now it's all kind of married up. The other thing is also we're training journalists to be multi-skilled. So those who know and understand that video is the future also are having training in the way to use camera, whether it's still or whether it's video. So that, you know, whenever there's a story and for some reason the video person or the photo person wasn't there, the text person can do other ways, can also cover the story. So essentially, as I said, we're all now married up in the way we produce our stories within the AP.
It also comes back to the collaborative approach that I was talking about a few moments ago, because if we can collaborate, actually it's as useful to know, for me to know how somebody's using my content than it is for me to know if they're using it, because I spend now an awful lot of my time not just speaking to the decision makers, because that's fine, and obviously you get a certain amount of intelligence from that, but actually you get a lot more intelligence, I think, that can help you make decisions as to how the industry is changing by talking to the doers in any news organisation. So I spend time sitting next to journalists who are using video for the first time to see how they're using it, to talk to print and press people to say actually what are the challenges that you're facing and how can we help you solve them, rather than, you know, this is how it's going to be. That doesn't exist anymore, that kind of attitude. Well, I hope it doesn't anyway.
We have time to sneak in one more question. Otherwise, I think we'll leave it on that note. It's just about 2 o'clock. Maria and Sue, thank you very much for coming to speak to us today. And a small gift of thanks from the FCC. We hope to see you here more often.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.